All LEI primers include some special lessons. We already looked at them briefly when we went through the primer, but let's review them again. We will look at the pre-reading lesson, the capital letter lesson for Roman script primers only, the numbers and arithmetic lesson, health and farming lessons, which are not in all primers, and simplified Bible story lessons. Pre-reading. Pre-reading exercises are found in the beginning of Book 1 of an LEI primer series, normally on pages 18 through 24. The pre-reading exercises give brand new readers some practice in left to right, top to bottom reading patterns, help train their eyes in distinguishing different shapes, and start the process of associating sounds with symbols. The pre-reading exercises will give you an idea of how fast or slow your students will be. Faster students go quickly through the pre-reading, while students requiring more time and explanation may be slower going through the pre-reading exercises. During this lesson, you can also check for students who may need glasses or have difficulties with learning. You will find the directions for how to teach the pre-reading on the left-hand side of the pre-reading lesson. It is important to follow these teaching instructions carefully. Okay, so here we have an example of a pre-reading lesson from an LEI primer, and Tricia and I are going to demonstrate how to teach and work together as a student-teacher with the pre-reading lesson. So here in section 1, please look at all these boxes, one row at a time, working left to right and from top row to bottom row. And each time you see this, please point to it, like this. Now you try. Very good. Okay, now each time you see this, again, looking at each box from left to right, from top row to bottom row, each time you see this symbol, please point to it like this. Okay? Notice I'm keeping my finger here on the symbol as a guide for my student. Great job. Please look at these boxes, going from one row at a time, left to right, and top row to bottom row. And each time you see this symbol, please point to it like this. Okay, now you do it. Great. And notice if your student makes a mistake, if it's a simple mistake like that, you can let them move on because you're just trying to gauge where your student is and give them a chance to practice. Now again, going one row at a time, left to right, top to bottom, please point to this symbol each time you see it, like this. Okay? Very good. Moving on to section 3. Each box, again, one row at a time, left to right and top to bottom. Please point to this symbol each time you see it, like this. Okay, your turn. Excellent. Going left to right, top to bottom. Each time you see this, please point to it like this. Okay, you do it. Excellent. Okay, and here, each time you see this symbol, please point to it like this. Okay, now you do it, please. Great. Each time you see this symbol, please point to it like this. Excellent. All right. Each time, again, looking at all these boxes, one row at a time, going left to right and top row to bottom row. We're going to look at this symbol, and each time you find it, please point to it like this. Okay. Excellent. Now each time you see this symbol, please point to it like this. Okay, your turn. Very good. And now this symbol, each time you see it, please point to it like this. Okay. Excellent. So my student did a great job, and again, if there are small mistakes, you can let it pass over, just allowing them to get some practice. If they're having a hard time going from top to bottom and left to right, you can guide their finger and give them a more specific example of how to read, because we want them to get used to looking at symbols from left to right in the same way that you would read, rather than having them jump all over the place. So make sure that they are going in that pattern when they point, and we'll move on to the next section. Before teaching your student to read, you'll use this drill in the pre-reading section to prepare for reading by pointing to the letters and words and also saying them. So here in sections 1 through 4, we've recognized the symbols just by pointing to them silently. Over here in section 5 through 8, we'll recognize and point to the symbols silently, but then we'll also go back through and point to and say the letters and the sounds of the words. For example, this is ah. Please say ah.
Ah.
Very good. Please find ah in all these boxes, each time pointing to and saying ah, like this. Ah. 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 Now you do it.
Ah. 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 Ah.
Very good. This is O. Say O.
Oh.
Very good. Each time you find O in the boxes, please point to it and say O, like this. O. 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 Now you do it.
Oh. 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 Oh.
Very good. And this is A. Say A.
A.
Very good. Each time you find A in the boxes, please point to it and say A, like this. A. 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 Now your turn.
A. 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 A.
Very good. So now moving on to section 6. Please look in these boxes, one row at a time, going left to right and top to bottom. And each time you see this word, please point to it like this. now it's your turn. Very good. Now again, going one row at a time, left to right and top to bottom. Please find this word, and each time you see it, point to it like this. Okay. Very good. And now going one row at a time, left to right and top to bottom. Each time you see this word, please point to it like this. Okay, now it's your turn. Very good. Now this is sai. Say sai.
Sai.
Very good. Each time you see sai in these boxes, please point to it and say sai like this. Sai. 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 Sai.
Sai. Sai. Sai. Sai. Sai. Sai.
Very good. This is down. Say down.
Down.
Very good. Each time you see down in these boxes, please point to it and say down, like this. Down, 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 down.
Down. Down. Down. Down. Down. Down.
Very good. And this is ema. Say ema.
Emma.
Very good. Each time you see ema in the boxes, please point to it and say ema like this. Ema. 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 Okay, you do it?
Emma. 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 Emma.
Very good. Please look at these boxes, one row at a time, from left to right and top to bottom, each row. And each time you see this syllable, please point to it like this. Okay, now it's your turn. Very good. Now I'd also do the same with this syllable and this syllable, but for the sake of time, I'm going to go back to da, and I'm going to ask her not only to point to it this time, but also to say it each time. So this is da. Say da.
Da.
Very good. Each time you see da in the boxes, please point to it and say da like this. Da. 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 Okay, now it's your turn.
Da. 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 Da.
Very good. And again, I'll also point and say do and de, but for the sake of time, we're going to move on to section 8 and give an example. So this, again, please look at all these boxes and going one row at a time, left to right, and top to bottom row. Each time you see this, please point to it like this. Okay, now it's your turn. Very good. And for the sake of time, again, we're going to move on, but you would also do the exact same process with this word and this word. And then going back through, now I'm going to point to and also say. So this is aro. Aro. Please say aro.
Aro.
Very good. Each time you see aro in the boxes, please point to it and say aro like this. aro, 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 aro.
Aro, 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 aro.
Excellent. And you'll continue to do that with ara and ama, and then you're finished with this section. The capital letter lesson is usually found in lesson 26, though it may come earlier. Before this lesson, no capital letters are used in the stories except for the name Jesus, God, or other titles used for God. All stories after this use capital letters as they're normally used. For the capital letter lesson, there are 4 pages. This lesson introduces the student to the concept of capital letters and briefly teaches the capitals that correspond with lowercase letters which the student has learned in earlier lessons. During the lessons that follow, you can refer back to this lesson to help students review the capital letters. On the first page of the capital letter lesson, explain that most reading and writing involves capital letters. These letters can signal several things to the reader. 1, that a new sentence is beginning, and 2, that a word is the name of a person, city, country, etc., when beginning with a capital letter. So let's take a look at the capital letter lesson now. This is a sample of the capital letter lesson from the Spanish primer, located on page 20. Here we have divided boxes, and just like the divided boxes that you've taught previously in other lessons, this signals that you'll teach the left side and review the right, like so. Here we have Ana. Please read Ana. Ana begins with A. Ah. Read A. This also is A. Please read A. What is this? What is this? Very good. So as you saw, I taught the left side and I reviewed the right side. Let's do another divided box. This is España. Please read España. España begins with S. Read S. This also is S. Read S. What is this? What is this? Very good. And here, as you notice, on the left side, we have lowercase letters. On the right side, we have uppercase letters. And this just gives the student a chance to compare and contrast the lowercase with the capital. Down here we have pairs of sentences. The first sentence in each pair is in all lowercase letters. The second sentence in each pair is correctly written with capital letters. So you'll simply have your student read the sentences. Feel free to help them if they aren't able to read it on their own, but give them a chance to try by themselves first. For example, you'll have them read, La casa de Alonso está en México. Then ask them to read the second sentence. La casa de Alonso está en México. Now take a moment to describe where the capital letters are located in the sentence. For example, here we have the name Alonso. It begins with a capital letter because it's a name. Here we have Mexico, which begins with a capital letter because it's a place. Describe that these names and places always begin with capital letters no matter where they are in the sentence, but also take a moment to explain to your student that the first word of every sentence begins with a capital letter. So we'll move on to the second page here. We have a comparison of the lowercase and uppercase letters again, and simply have your student read these words. If they aren't able to read it, help them. It's really no problem for you to help them during this time. Just take a moment to show them how some of the letters are similar when they're uppercase and lowercase. For example, the lowercase letter C and the capital letter C look exactly alike, just one is bigger than the other. The same goes for the K and the S and the U. So this will help your student to make comparisons and will give them a head start in learning the capital letters from the beginning. The third page is a reading page. Have your student read the stories. These stories are Jesus stories that the student has already read in earlier lessons, but they're now written with the appropriate capital letters. This will give the student practice in recognizing the letters. And then finally, the fourth page is a writing page. Here students see how to write capital letters. Explain about the size difference between the lowercase and capital letters. Begin teaching the capital letters that are similar in shape, like we described earlier, to the lowercase letters. This will be simpler for your student. You will not be able to teach how to write all of the capital letters in one lesson. If your students have not already learned to write their names, then this is the perfect lesson to do this. As soon as your student has mastered the basic concept and is recognizing some of the capital letters, you should move to the next lesson. Your student will get more and more practice with the capitals in each upcoming lesson. You can focus on recognizing and writing the capitals that are used in each of the following lessons. Usually lessons 33 in Book 2 is a special lesson for numbers and arithmetic. This lesson is to help the new reader learn how to write both the number symbol and the word for the number. Many students will already know and recognize the numbers 1, 2, 3, and so on, but they may need help writing them. They will know the vocabulary for the numbers, but will need help writing the words. This lesson is mostly a reference lesson. You can begin teaching the numbers and words for numbers as early as your student can handle it. Go over the page numbers on the lesson and the lesson number for each lesson beginning with Lesson 1. This will help your new reader to learn the numbers. The arithmetic lesson is to show the student how to write the math that they probably do every day. Non-readers may or may not be very good at handling money transactions in the market. Now they can learn how to write down the numbers, the calculations, etc. You might want to do some simple arithmetic with the students using beans or other objects to demonstrate addition, subtraction, and multiplication. The letter writing lesson is usually lesson 34 found in Book 2. This lesson is mostly to encourage your students to write letters. But you don't have to wait until this lesson to begin encouraging your students to write a letter. Students should learn how to format a letter and address an envelope and then practice writing the letters as a part of this writing lesson and its homework assignments. Early on, you may have to help your student write whatever they want, but they should do most of the writing. This type of writing helps your new readers learn how to write what they're thinking and not just copy what they see on the board. Another creative writing exercise is to have your students write their own stories using the vocabulary they've already learned. After Lesson 6, the students have enough vocabulary to write some simple short stories. This helps with comprehension and the desire to write. These stories can become extra reading material for the students and future students. Usually, the health and farming lessons are found from Lesson 35 to 46. The 8 health lessons and 3 farming lessons cover basic needs in your local area. These introduce the students to vocabulary so they can read other materials on the same subjects. These lessons are taught using the same 5-step teaching method as earlier lessons. The only exception is that there are usually 10 to 12 new words per lesson. The new words are listed in the boxes and at the bottom of the pages of each lesson. These lessons can be supplemented with other brochures and materials from government and health organizations in your area.